Good morning, good morning, good morning, ladies. Good morning. How are you doing this morning? Ah, okay, so this morning I had a power outage, right? And I'm like, okay, couldn't find the flashlights, couldn't find anything to get some light, right? So I have my little box that, you can plug stuff into. So I'm like, okay, I started to think, like I always do. I started to think, like, this is how life is. We're either prepared or we're not. And most of the time we're not, right? Most of the time you're not prepared for what's going to happen. You're not prepared for things that you may just fall into. But then there are those times when you're in control of what you fall into. When you fall into something and it's on purpose, of course, that's not considered an accident. So, the first thing that I'm going to talk about is this. For the ones who say that they're side chicks, you know, you get into a situation and you know what it is. You know that this man is sometimes your man, right? What made you feel that way? Like, what made you feel that it's okay to like hurt your sisters or your brothers? Where do you get that comfort from that just says like, hey, it doesn't even matter. It is what it is. I was talking to somebody, and what she said was, she said, if somebody's not married, then they're fair game. I don't care if they're in a relationship or whatever. If they're not married, then I can take them. And to that, I'm just surprised. I'm not gonna lie. Um, so you don't mind sharing the man that you're with? Like, you're not just embarrassed about the situation. But hey, it's a lot of people, they hold that up here. They hold it with pride, being a side chick or a side guy. And that's okay. Whatever your thing is, hey, not judging. I'm just saying this. It's not okay to go around and hurt your sisters or your brothers. It's not okay. The problem is, like I said, when did it become okay for you? At what point, who did it? Who did it? Who hurt you is what you've got to find out. Because, see, there's always a root to it. Most of the time, you don't become that type of cold hearted person for nothing. Go back and just think, what happened to get me to this point where I just don't care about how somebody else hurts? Because honestly, if it was you, you would want everybody to feel sorry for you. You tell everybody your story, and um, you just would be hurt. But since it's not you, you know, you also said, well, I don't know her. You know, if she takes somebody's man, it's okay because she doesn't know that woman. But what about the times when you've went through something devastating, if it was a relationship or any other thing? Because, sometimes it's not just somebody cheating. Sometimes people deceive their family members. They, lie to their friends and betray them and everything else. So it's not just cheating. But today, we're talking about side chicks and people that really just thinks it's okay. You think it's okay to just hurt people. You just really don't care because you're cold-hearted. First of all, it's story time, okay? It's story time. When it comes to having somebody else's man, that's not something that I do. I don't want your man. I don't want your man. I, it's like I was dating someone, some years back. It's been a long time. This person, I mean, they were so sweet. They were sweet. They, very respectful, traveled in and out of town a lot, did the staycations and all that. We really had fun together, right? Well, we went to New York. We went to New York and we were just doing some shopping and everything. Now, mind you, this person was over a ministry, a music and ministry is how we even met at the church I was attending. But we were in New York and he got out the car and I'm just like, okay, I dropped something. I swear, like the Lord has a way of just revealing some things, right? I dropped something, and when I dropped it, I bent down to get it, but I was feeling for it. And I pulled out a bag, and it was like pills and stuff. I'm not into that, so I didn't know what it was, but I knew it wasn't right. It was just all these pills because I've passed meds before, but these were like a different color and all that, the capsules. And there was a gun and things like that. And I'm like, what is he into? Well, needless to say, I did ask, and he was upset. Like, why are you going in my stuff? Well, I dropped something. I wasn't intentionally going through his things. And the reason I'm telling this story, it will come together in a second, because there's a difference in being a side chick and you know it. And then there's another of being a side chick and you didn't know. Okay. So coming from New York, we stopped at a house in Lexington, Kentucky. And I'm just like, he's taking me to his house or whatever. And I'm, you're like, okay, well, he's on the up and up. He's taking me to his house. He spends time with me. He spends time with me. He does all these things, Well, after we got back and Sunday was coming up, at church, he passed out. He passed out on stage. We were having like a holiday concert and he passed out on stage. So I'm worried, I'm running around. I'm like, oh my God, does anybody know where he is? Which hospital is he going to? What's wrong? Well, one of the men, told me, later where he was and all that stuff, because I hadn't heard anything since he passed out, right? Well, I'm calling around, and I also called the number, which I called the number that I had when I first got with him, in his phone. So I'm like, okay. I called the number, and a woman answered the phone. At this point, we're engaged. I mean, I'm wearing his ring. We are engaged. Like I said, he wasn't a bad guy, right? So the woman, she's just like, oh, hey, how are you? He's fine. He's resting right now. And I'm like, I'm like, can I speak to him? She was like, oh, who should I say is calling or whatever? I said, Donna. And she's like, Donna, are you from the church and this and that? I'm like, no, I'm his fiance. She was like, well, you couldn't be his fiance. I'm his wife. Well, take me back, okay? She said she was his wife. And I'm like, no, we're engaged. We got engaged a couple of months ago and this and that, no. And she was like, honey, this is not the first time that he's done something crazy, and it won't be his last. That's why we're in the middle of, separating and stuff like that. So she yells his name. And I could hear him, and I'm like, this is real. I was a side chick, and I didn't know. I was like, Lord, like, how could I let this happen? That was my thing, was how could I let this happen? And I began to think back, and it's like, well, he would bring like hair supplies and stuff like that because I did hair, but I didn't know she did hair too. Like, she went to church on Saturday, and I was at the church that he was at on Sunday. So he's living a double life. You hear me? He was living a double life. But needless to say, I left him alone. My thing is, once I find out something like that, I'm gone. I'm gone because I don't believe it's right. I don't. And did I care about him? Yes, I did. But I care more about me and my relationship with the Lord. I'll tell you, even when I was just acting a fool, I still was concerned about my relationship with the Lord. So I left that alone. And to my ladies, you know, you don't have to stay in a situation with a man. You say that he's your side dude and he does this and that, okay, he's buying you everything and like he's your sugar daddy. Let's just keep it real, right? And so he's doing all these things for you. But what you don't have is somebody to take home when you have family get-togethers. What you don't have is someone who you can go home and talk to things about. You don't have your own man. And I know a lot of ladies right now, you're like, okay, well, I have a husband, I have a boyfriend, and I still don't have those things either. You may need to go to counseling. You may need to go to counseling. That's okay. Because so does the woman who is being a side chick. Because the way I see it, and like I said, it's not judging, it's just for the fact that I think about things and I know people and I talk to people. So if you have a guy and you're the other woman, then you couldn't think too much about yourself, because you're accepting less than you deserve. Or maybe you think you don't deserve your own man. I know there are some women who don't think they deserve a good man. They're just like, they're going to take what they can get because they don't think they can get better than who they've got. Well, halfway got. First of all, you don't need somebody that's going to treat you like that. That's going to be, half-hearted. It's going to do more damage to you down the road. But again, I keep saying what happened because there's a lot of stuff that happens in our life and it points to our childhood. It points to something that somebody may have told you. It points to some things that people spoke over you when you were a kid and you just started to believe that. You started to believe it. I remember coming up and like my mom would get mad and say things like, oh, you're a whore, you're this, you're that. Like, you say that to kids, that always stayed in my mind. And it's just like, sometimes you go live that, to be honest. I mean, I've danced. And in my mind, I'm thinking like, well, that's how people think about me anyway, even though you're not, I'm not saying that you're a whore just because you're dancing, because that's not the case. I'm just saying sometimes we tend to act out the things that people call us. Like, are you answering to the names that people call you? Or are you answering to what the Lord has called you to be? Because no matter what, no matter how you feel about it, you are the daughter of the Most High. You deserve somebody who is going to love you. You deserve your own person. So you've got to check yourself. You've got to start to say, what is it that is causing me to act this way? What happened to me that makes me think this way? Because a lot of women, we beat ourselves up like all the time. We're telling ourselves we're not thin enough. We're not pretty enough. I'm not smart enough. It's plenty of times that, I've had different kinds of thoughts like that, mostly because of my mother. I will say that, mostly because of my mom. Plenty of times, she's like, oh, you're stupid, you're this and that. Like, for a long time, I wouldn't get up and read in class. I would do things that would cause me to get a bad grade. But then, how could I be upset about it? Like, I got this bad grade because I was letting what was said to me affect me. I was letting it affect me. And you don't know it, but while you're sharing somebody's man, it's affecting you. It gives you less self-worth. You've already got issues. We all have some issues, but there's some deeper issues that need to be attacked. There are. By no means am I saying that I'm perfect, because I'm not by any means perfect. I'm on the same journey that you're on. I'm just sharing my steps along the way in hopes that you won't go down the road that I've been down, because everything does not have to be learned. Some things you can just watch. You don't have to learn them yourself. You can just watch. And then there's those lessons you've got to learn them for yourself. Because some women, no matter who tells you that you're worthy, no matter who talks to you and tells you to like leave a bad relationship, no matter who imparts in your life, you're not going to listen. I'll tell you the same thing that I told my daughter. My daughter, she's 24 years old. And when she calls and she talks to me, I always tell her, I can't tell you to leave. I can't tell you to stay. Because so many times before I've said, you know how we want somebody to get out of a situation. I've tried to help her, but she runs back to this, the situation. So my thing is, you're never going to leave until you're ready. I'm going to say that again. You're never going to leave until you're ready. So guess what, friend? You keep telling your girlfriend, leave him alone, and girl, he's a dog, this. They're not going to leave until they're ready. So they pretty much need you to just love them where they are. Sometimes when we just love on people, that's when change comes. That's when change comes. So there are so many issues in life that I could talk about, but I'm not going to just try to squeeze it all into this video. But what I'm telling you is to go back. If you've got to go to a quiet place, just close your eyes and go back to that place where you first started hurting. Think about what it was, what was said, what was done that made you feel like you weren't worthy. What was it that changed you from this child? You know how you had that fantasy about you being the princess and you're getting rescued by your prince? What changed that? What made you believe that love was not doable anymore? Did you see mom have man after man after man in the house? And that's how you live your life now? Because you are not your mother. You have traits of your mother. Like you got her eyes. You probably got her skin. You probably look like your mom. But you are not your mom. And you're not other people's tragedy. Sometimes our parents can cast things off on us and we carry that for the rest of our lives. But you've got to get to a point where you start to speak better things to yourself. And you've got to believe that once you speak it. I literally had to say affirmations to myself in the mirror because I had got to a place where I was so broken and I was crying out to the Lord. And I'm just like, I'm tired. I was tired of being the victim, right? So every day I got in the mirror and I said something nice to myself because I hadn't done that before. And you will not see pictures of me. You pretty much will not see pictures of me before my early 30s. I really did not believe anything. Like, I didn't think I was beautiful. And I thought I was stupid and I would never take pictures. Like I ran from pictures. If you've got a picture of me, you took that on a slot. So I'm a witness that sometimes life can make you out of what other people have called you if you allow it. Because I allowed it for so many years. We always look to blame somebody else, but sometimes we carry that burden and we just beat ourselves with it every day. And that's kind of how we live our lives. And I'll share this too, because maybe this will help somebody. One thing that used to happen was in my mind, I would, we talk to ourselves, right? If I was going to do something, there would be this whisper like, you can't do that. They're not going to listen to you. Look at you, like you don't have anything, your mom don't even want you and stuff like that. Like things would constantly come across my mind. And I was hurting myself over and over and over again, entertaining that. You have the right not to entertain those thoughts. But some of us, we focus on it so much and we give it so much energy that we become exactly what we said we would. And if you know the word, you know that you will have what you say you'll have. So speak different to yourself. Speak different to yourself. I just really want to let you all know, my sisters, my brothers, I love you. I really do. Even though I don't know some of you all, I love you. If nobody's told you today, I love you. And you all have a good day.